Hey, aloha, Usos. Mahalo for tuning in. Got a Necromancer tank build for y'all, and I call it the Graveyard Behemoth because some asshole on the interwebs already took the name Colossus, which just sounds a lot cooler. But anyways, this Necro tank is a very standard old school pure tanking character, like you would see in most games, where its main utility is having super high health and defense to absorb the max amount of damage from enemies without dying. It's pretty solid, virtually unkillable, very simple to use, and great for beginners, and the sets it wears are pretty easy to get, assuming you're not using the Mighty Trudan helmet monster set and instead use Bloodspawn. In the back I got some Blessed Crucible gameplay for you. Wasn't easy to get this guy's health low, man. I don't think it ever went below 50% in this dungeon, to be honest, and that was playing while I was watching Cobra Kai in the background. So without further ado, let's get started. So for your class, obviously Necromancer because it's a Necromancer tank, but in terms of your race, Nord or Argonian, really up to you. I prefer the Nord because it's tankier with ultimate regen, more health than defense. Argonian is slightly better for the sustain because of its special potion passive, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. There's no wrong answer here. As you can see here, the attributes and stats, it's pretty high. Like, you got close to 60k health, and your resistances are near capped at 33k each. So the recoveries ain't great, but I mean, they're acceptable. You want to put all your points in health because we're trying to stack and maximize that health to the highest it can be. Sorry. And for your Mundus Stone, I use the Lord for extra health, but the Steed works as well, increases your health recovery and all that stuff. And for food, Bewitched Sugar Skulls is optimal. However, any tri-stat boosting food is it's fine. And Major Resolve and Minor Toughness are actually a result from the passive buffs from the gear that this character uses. So for your sets, you want to be using Warrior Poet as a 5-piece set, a Leeching Plate, 5 pieces as well, and a Mighty Chidan or a Bloodspawn 2-piece monster set. Now for the enchantments, you want to have everything health and health recovery and absorb health if possible. And for your traits on your armor, Divines is optimal, and having defending and decisive on your weapons is optimal, and all your jewelry should be healthy, just to get that health maxed to the absolute highest it can be. So Warrior Poet's really nice. It gives you minor toughness, which increases your max health by 10% at all times, no matter what. And it also is really nice to give you some extra armor. Leeching Plate is really good because that is your unlimited sustain set where anybody attacks you, you're going to drop clouds of leeching poison under the enemy's feet, and it's just going to heal you constantly. There's no downtime for this skill. And then for Mighty Chidan, you're just wearing this so you can increase your armor so you don't have to put any defense buffs on your character. Or you can use Bloodspawn. Either one works. It's really up to you. Bloodspawn's easier to get. Mighty Chidan is pretty difficult to get. So if you don't have access to Mighty Chidan, Bloodspawn is perfectly fine too. And it's great because of the ultimate regeneration. In terms of skills, you want to be using Pierce Armor from the One Hand and Shield line. And that is your main taunt skill. This is the thing that you should always be using to taunt enemies. You also want to be using Spirit Guardian, which is a very nice little spirit that can heal you or the lowest health ally and tank some damage away from you if, there's too many enemies and you're a little overwhelmed. Unnerving Boneyard, which is, nice for damage, decreasing enemies' defense, and letting allies activate it so they can damage enemies as well as healing you for the damage done. Agony Totem, which is a very nice skill that lets you reduce incoming damage and increase your teammates' damage against enemies. And they can activate a nice little synergy there as well. And Fearing. And Necrotic Potency, which is your ultimate regen and healing skill and reducing your damage taken. And then you have your main ultimate, which is the Ravenous Goliath, which heals you when you activate it, as well as turning you into just an unkillable tanking creature with a nice AoE attack and just restoring health when you attack. This section here, it's just like the back bar. You don't really have to know, but if anything, on your back bar you should have Animate Blast Bones, which allows you to revive teammates that are down, which would help you in situations when the healer is done and there's no one to heal. Now in terms of passives, I've maxed every passive on every single class specific skill, only because this character uses skills on its main bar from each and every single one of the skill lines. So that's why I have everything maxed. As for your other passives, very self-explanatory. You always want to max out your raise passives and whatever weapon passives that you usually use, and all that other stuff. Your heavy armor, because you're a heavy armor tank. One thing that's not on here is the Undaunted skill line, and if you have the points for it, definitely put points in the passives in the Undaunted skill line. You're not going to get a huge benefit from it because you're primarily using heavy armor and you're not using 3 different types of armor, so yeah. Alright, now in the back here I got some Craglorn solo gameplay here, and I'm going to explain how to use this character real quick. All you're doing is using your Pierce Armor skill, which is your main aggro skill, and you're just trying to stab whichever enemies that are hard hitting just to get some heat off your DPS and your healer, and anything else that decides to hit your team, you're just getting it off with the Pierce Armor. After that, like, the world's your fucking oyster, because you have 5 other skills that help you sustain, heal, provide some extra tanking if you need it, and there's no combo or anything. It's just you use what you need, right? And if you're in trouble, if everyone's dead, you switch to your back bar and you revive everyone. So I also got some Cradle of Shadows gameplay in the back as well, and this was actually a really bad dungeon because the DPS was very low. The healer left us midway because he wasn't very good either, but I mean, it was really hard to kill this character unless it ran into bosses that had one-hit mechanics. I mean, which is, you know, the fault of myself and not anybody else's, right? Because it's your responsibility to know what one-hit shots and how to block and how to mitigate that. So yeah, that's basically it. If you check here, like, it's really hard to kill. Cradle of Shadows is not an easy dungeon on veteran, man. A lot of people get pissed off and leave midway, which is what happened here. But yeah, basically just you stab, right? You pierce the armor of the strong bosses and enemies, and then yeah, you use whatever skills you needed. Use your ultimate if you need to, just to be an extra tank, or if you need to heal yourself, because it heals 30,000 health as well. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. That's my Graveyard Behemoth video, Necro tank. Very standard old school tank. Right? ESO, there's a lot of flexibility on what you can do with characters, but I decided to, go back to the classics and our roots. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Stay safe.